Hey Amarillo, I'm Skylar Gallup, and you're listening to Hey Amarillo, the interview podcast featuring some of the most interesting people and stories of Amarillo, Texas. We record every week at Amarillo College's Innovation Outpost. The IO supports education, workforce development, and industry growth by inspiring and facilitating innovation in the Texas Panhandle. Today's guest is Matt Garrison. Matt is a career law enforcement officer who's been on the force in smaller towns like Dumas, all the way up to a DPS state trooper working America's main artery, I-40, and all she has to offer. He then went into private security, working executive protection for defense contract CEOs. Yeah, Matt tells us some pretty cool stories about that time period from all over the world, as well as reflects on the life of a law enforcement officer in a really introspective and surprising way. Here's Matt. Matt Garrison, welcome to the Hey Amarillo podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you. So the first thing that we like to do when we get started with these deals is to ask, how'd you get here? What is your sort of origin story with Amarillo?
Okay. I was actually born here.
Oh, cool.
I'm not going to give you the date, but it was a couple of decades ago. And I've lived here all my life other than 12 years.
Nice. And so what schools did you go through?
I actually started out in Hamlet, which very few people know where that's at. It was actually on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that it stayed open.
Yeah.
Then I went to a private middle school that's no longer here anymore. And then I wound up graduating from Caprock. I was in the ROTC program, so I transferred over there.
Oh, great. And what did your parents do in town?
My father was a lifetime police officer, and my mother probably had some of the best jobs in the world. She worked for American Corridor Association, worked for Pantex, and then she wound up, she was an artist. She wanted to pursue that career, so she wound up quitting and becoming an artist full time.
How interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your
Very
father
talented.
was a police officer.
He was.
That's starting to help
Yeah,
me understand your pathway.
Right. Third generation.
Oh, cool.
So, and it wasn't my plan to go in law enforcement. It just worked out that way.
So you were in the ROTC program in high school, and where did you go after graduation?
I actually started farming with a local farmer here, and then toughest work I ever did. But I was like, you know what? Personally, I don't see a whole lot of future in this, so I actually went to Amarillo College and started there.
And was that when you began getting into law enforcement, when you went to AC?
Yeah, they have a law enforcement program, and they said, hey, have you ever thought about going into this? And I was like, yeah, I've thought about it. So I went down and talked to the person in charge that time. His name was Bill Russell. I'm dating myself. This is a long time ago. And a very nice guy. And he said, yeah, we got an opening. We got a class coming up. He says, why don't you put in for it? And I did. And that's kind of how it all started.
So your choice to kind of get into farming, was that like out of not wanting to follow in your father and I assume grandfather's footsteps?
No, it was more necessity. Okay. Our neighbor owned a lot of land around here. And he came over one day. We were real good friends with him. And he goes, congratulations on completing high school. He says, what's your plans? I said, well, I kind of wanted to take a couple of weeks off and don't do anything. And he says, well, why don't you come farm with me? He says, I've got all these acres. You can come out here and come to farm, and you can leave anytime you want. And so I actually enjoyed it. It was really hard work, but I learned a lot. And I'm glad I did it. I don't want to ever do it again, but it was really a time in my life that I think I matured a lot and grown and really learned how to put in a hard day's work, and get a reward out of it. So I really felt good, at the end of the day, because I felt like I accomplished something.
Yeah. So now you're at AC. You've been accepted to the law enforcement program. What comes next?
So I went through that program, and Randall County, I knew a couple of people at the sheriff's office at Randall County, and they said, we don't have any openings, but would you like to be a reserve? And I said, sure. So I went to be a part-time reserve for them while I continued my education at Amarillo College.
Nice. And then after you got your degree, did you go into,
I went
get on with Randall County? Or?
I went full-time with Randall County, completed my 2 associates degrees, and I decided, well, Well, I stop here. I'll go and get a undergrad degree. So I rolled a WT and started going there. And then there was a sergeant that I knew at Canyon PD who had just been hired for the chief of police job in Dumas. And he says, I've got an opening. I'm hiring people. Would you like to come over there and go to work? And I said, yeah, but I'm going to school. And he said, we'll pay for college. And I said, done.
Yep.
So I went and worked for Dumas PD for 2 years. Fantastic time. I really learned how to be a police officer there, really learned the rules of the road. Enjoyed it. Still have friends that I stay in contact with now. You know, I don't want to say anything negative about the community, but it's a very violent community. So I really I got to do all the fun things that you get in law enforcement to do.
Yeah.
So made an impression on me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. What is that like? You know, when you say you kind of learn the rules of the road, what is that like?
So you get these experiences from dealing with the lowest forms of scum on the earth to people that have had something tragic happen in their life. And you've got to learn to balance that out and be non-judgmental. You got to be a psychiatrist. You got to be a doctor. You have to be a lawyer. You have to be a socialist worker. I mean, you have to do all these and combine, and you have to make split-second decisions. And one thing I always tell new recruits that are coming in, what you do affects other people's lives and the decisions that you make. So you got to be very careful when you walk that line of integrity. Hey, what you do is not just has something to do with you. It's got to do with the public and other people, and you're going to affect their lives for the rest of the time that they're here on earth. And so that really matured me in law enforcement, and it's something I don't think we teach enough of. You know, most of the time we go to recruit schools, we go to academies or something like that. You know, you run fast, you drive cars, you get to shoot guns, and you get to do all this, but there's a lot more to it than just doing the fun stuff. I got to learn all that while I was in Dumas. I think it made me a better police officer.
And how long were you a police officer in Dumas?
2 years.
2 years, and then where did you go?
I went back to school full time and knocked out my bachelor's degree. I had an opportunity financially to go back full time, and it just took 1 year. So I did that, and then I applied for the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Okay.
Got accepted, went to their recruit school, went to Austin for 6 long months in the Austin heat. It was in the middle of July when we started. So
I know what that's like.
It was tough, but very, very rewarding.
What is the difference in training and maybe even like qualifications between, you know, getting on in like a local police department and then moving into DPS?
The larger the agency, the more training you're going to get. Like the Department of Public Safety, it was 27 weeks long, a little over 6 months. And they go through absolutely everything. One thing I tell people is the Texas legislature actually, for lack of a better term, owns the Department of Public Safety. They make the rules and the regulations, and that's their agency. That's the state agency that everybody kind of sets the pillar to. Okay. And local agencies, when you go through a regional academy, like I did at Amarillo College, it was a good school, good academy. It's more of a basic academy. They tell you these are the basic requirements that you need to go through and to become a police officer in the state of Texas. Amarillo Police Department is a lot more intense, and so is Houston PD. You know, so the larger the agency, the more intense and the more training you get. So I always felt like we were the pinnacle, and I think every officer should, wherever they work. I think that, you know, that department should be the best that there is for that officer. Yeah. So the training was very, very good, very, very physical. I learned a lot, and I was glad when it was over.
Yeah. And did you get to come, were you like, I guess stationed would be the word?
So you get 3 choices, and they're kind of like throwing darts at a board. They're like, well, you can choose anywhere you want to go, but we're not guaranteed you're going anywhere.
Yeah, have fun with that.
So I wanted to come back to Amarillo as close as I could. I got to go to Delhart. So I stayed a year there. You have to stay a year on probation there. And then I finally got to come to Amarillo.
Okay, so you were a state trooper here in Amarillo.
I was for 3 years.
For 3 years. And what was that like? What experiences, you've kind of like learned the rules of the road.
Right.
And now you're like top dog, right?
Yeah. Well, I felt that way. So when I was,
And how old were you?
I was 30 when I
Okay.
went through the academy. So I
Okay.
was considered an old man. And every morning when we got up to do PT, I felt like an old man. So I got to work the interstate, which is something I never got to do before. I didn't get to do it at the sheriff's office or the PD because you work typically in your jurisdiction.
Sure.
And state troopers have statewide jurisdiction, but they're typically assigned to a county. So I was assigned to Potter County here in Amarillo, and I got to work the interstate.
So you worked I-40.
I did. We call it the super slab.
Yeah, talk about that. That's so interesting.
So I-40 was kind of an enigma because you got to see everything that you didn't get to see anywhere else, because I-40 is an artery that runs from coast to coast almost. And you get people vacationing, you get visitors, you get people that are committing crimes, people that are trying to escape crimes, narcotics, interdiction, child trafficking. I mean, you get to see this unbelievable gamut of things that you never get to see anywhere else. And they did a study about the traffic out there. I don't want to tell you the details of it because I can't remember, but the amount of traffic that goes through I-40 was just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the thousands of cars that go through there every day. And I remember when 9/11 happened, I was working that day.
Oh, wow.
And I remember it was the slowest traffic I'd ever seen ever in the time that I was out there.
Yeah.
But everybody I stopped was real emotional. And they would thank me, say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, it was just unbelievable that day. But what I was getting at is that road is a blood flow from east to west coast nonstop, day or night. So you really got to experience a lot.
I wonder what it's like. And I guess my question is, do you ever get used to like having no idea what you're going to walk up on?
I don't know if you get used to it, you get prepared for it.
Mm.
You mentally have to have it in your mind that regardless of what this vehicle looks like, what the occupants are, you have to be ready to defend your life or maybe that of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that in your mind. If you have that in your mind and you're prepared, that fear factor is diminished. Yeah. I'm not saying it completely goes away, but I think it's lowered.
Yeah. So what is the hardest thing about being in law enforcement?
Family life.
Oh.
Police officers don't leave their work at home like most people get to do. They take it with them. You may be working a crash and there's a fatality and there's a 2-month-old baby. Mm-hmm. Or you have to work suicide. Those things are hard to shut off and to bring home into a family life. Mm-hmm. You also work nights, weekends, holidays. You don't get to spend a lot of time with family. And one of the biggest things that I noticed my family had to wrap their head around is I ate really fast at the meals, and I really didn't get to sit down and enjoy the time with the family. Mm. And someone asked me, they said, why is it? And I said, well, it's kind of out of habit. When a police officer eats, the phone may ring or the radio may go off at any time. You never know when the next opportunity is you're going to get to eat. Mm. So you get in there, you eat, you get done so you can go back out and go to work. And those meal times were really hard for me because I didn't sit down and enjoy them like I should have. I do now. Yeah. But that was something that really, I wouldn't call it a regret. It's a reflection. I would always look back on and say, hey, I really missed that time. Yeah.
In your experience, do you feel like there was appropriate level of mental health support for law enforcement officers?
No, it's gotten better.
Okay.
It's really become the forefront. And I think 9/11 had a lot to do with that. And then recently, within the last 10 years, all of the attacks on law enforcement, I think have changed that mindset. And the best indicator of when change is coming is the public will tell you. When you start hearing the public speak out and the public talk about, I think we probably need to protect our police officers and our first responders and our firefighters.
Well, the whole
and
Back the Blue
all of
movement, yeah,
yeah.
that was huge.
So I think out of something bad, something good like that comes about.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
In this instance, I think it has.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the best thing about being in law enforcement?
It is probably the most fulfilling work. You actually think you accomplished something. If you arrest a murderer or child molester, or you solve a case, or you stop a load of drugs, or you stop some cartel from coming across the border, you go home thinking, I really made a difference today. I really did. Or you stop someone for a seatbelt violation. Most people think, well, that's just a minor thing like that. Well, I may have saved that person's life if they go and they have an accident or a crash down the road. It just really made you feel like you did something for society, and you feel good about yourself when you have those days.
How many years total were you in law enforcement?
26.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So how long were you a state trooper then?
14 years. I retired as a lieutenant, and I worked on the border a lot, which was a very good experience for me. I really enjoyed it. I felt like probably could have had a little bit more support from above on some of the operations that we did, but it was kind of at the beginning of the stages. It kind of started around 2006 when Governor Perry first started the initiation of Operation Border Star. Yeah. So
what was that like?
So really great when it first started. So I was a lieutenant and I was stationed in Midland, Texas. And there's 6 JOICs, which is a Joint Operations Intelligence Center. Okay. Texas had 6 of them at that time. I had the one that was in Marfa, Texas, which was between El Paso and Del Rio. And I say that because a lot of people don't know where that's at. So if you know where Big Bend is.
Yeah. Beautiful country.
It is. So I had that section. It was the largest section by volume. Okay. And so I went down there every week, and I got to work with some great people, some great agencies. I had all these assets. I had all the 3-letter agencies and the military that were assigned. A lot of territory to cover, but it was a lot of fun. And it was kind of at the beginning of the big border surges and everything like that. So it was kind of neat because I got to put everything into place, make plans for it, get it started, assign people and stuff like that. So the only downside was I had to do that in addition to my regular duties. They're kind of like, tag, you're it. Congratulations. On top of everything else you're doing, here you go. Take some of this with you. So no regrets. I had a really good time, enjoyed it. I wish we had the available finances and assets that the department has now. There's a lot more money that was given to it, but the influx we were looking at was not towards immigrants, it was cartel. So we actually did combating terrorism and drug cartels that were infiltrating the border. So and that was really fun because you were really doing law enforcement activities.
Right. There's so much information and media and coverage on all the different platforms these days about the border and what's occurring. Do you feel like they hit the mark? Do you feel like there are misconceptions from the general public about what's occurring on the border? Of course, you can speak to the time that you were there.
I think it's more of a 30,000 foot view. And the reason I'll say that is I can't speak for everyone. I'm not sure everyone can comprehend the violence that's going on down there. And I'll give you an example. There was an episode where some kids were playing soccer in El Paso, and they were kicking the ball around, and they kicked the ball into the Mexico side over the border. So they lost the ball. They figured, well, we're never going to see it again. The next day, the ball was back in their playing yard, but the drug cartel had cut the face off of a rival and took the skin of that face and they put it on that soccer ball and they sewed it up and they kicked it back over on the other side to send a message. Oh my goodness. It's just little things like that you can't imagine the actual terror that's going on that border. Yeah. It's heartbreaking and it's wrenching, but I'm not sure the American public is ready for that, or they could comprehend that.
Yeah.
You know,
That
and being
level.
a father, you know, that it's really hard at home. You know,
Of
when you
course.
think about that.
Yeah. And is it stuff like that that kind of keeps you motivated in the work?
It does. It is. And at that time, I'm not speaking for now. At that time, you know, we did not own those borders. The cartel did.
Mm.
You know, people talk, well, we've got this agency down there, we got this unit, and all these people down there doing a really good job, which we were. But you know, we didn't control those borders.
Wow.
The cartel did.
Wow.
I'd like to say we had it locked down and we were secure, and you know, we've got this, but you know, it's just simply not true.
Yeah. Wow. What incredible perspective. So, what made you hang up that?
It was a time in my life that I had done everything I could do with that agency, and I'm just one of these that when I leave, I leave. I don't take anything with me. I don't take regrets or any personal problems or anything like that. I'm just like, okay, you know, it's time to shut the door and go do something else. And I felt like it was at that time. I'd had a really good law enforcement career, and I was like, you know what, it's time to go do something else.
Nice. And what was that? Something
So
else?
I'd actually went back to school to get a graduate degree. And I was just on the internet, just surfed around, just throwing out feelers. And I had this image popped up, said security, something, something or another at Bell Helicopter. And I was like, it sounds good. I feel that. I sent it off. I didn't think anything about it. A couple of months later, they called me and said, hey, we got a job. Do you want it? It's in Fort Worth. I said, sure, I'll go down there. This is where you should read all the fine print because it was for an internship.
Okay.
And I was in the intern class, probably 20 years senior than everybody else that was in there. So
with a pretty long resume.
Yeah. So it was something else when I walked into that class and here this old man walks in there and all these young kids that are still in school here. And it was
how funny.
So to call it an acclimation period, it was understated. But anyway, I went through the internship program and I went to work in the security division for a defense contractor. Had a phenomenal time. Just absolutely enjoyed it. It kind of started out as a real minimal position, but as time grew, I felt like I brought a lot to the table and they recognized that. So they started giving me a lot more responsibility. So at the end, we had started, it's the very first time the company had ever had an executive protection team. So I got to do executive protection for the CEO and our parent company. So I got to fly with all of our CEOs all over the world, doing executive or personal protection, however you want to call it. And I just absolutely had a blast at that. That was just so much fun. I got to go. I'm a little bitty Texas Panhandle boy. You know, I've never been to Morocco, you know, or Germany or Japan and Philippines and stuff. So I got to travel like that. And it was just an absolute blast.
How cool.
I really enjoyed
so
that.
Jack Ryan is in my head.
Yeah, I wish. Well, we had a really good time. Really good time.
So your private security for Department of Defense contractors. Was it wild or was it, I mean, like, did y'all ever get like jammed up?
No. We had a couple real small instances, but nothing major significance.
Which is good. I'm not hoping. Yeah, right. It's good.
Yeah.
But,
it's kind of one of those things that they're great stories when you get to sit down and talk about it, but when it's come to that point, you really don't want anything to happen.
Of course.
And so your track record is actually better when you can say that, you know, there was no incidents or nothing like that.
A boring day is a good day.
Yep. I will tell you that we were in Chile one time, and so we, not to leave out a lot of details, I'm just shortening the story, but we were in a small convoy headed to a location, and the cartel at that time spotted one of our vehicles, and they wanted that vehicle. So I had what's called a rolling roadblock, which is one vehicle in the front, one in the back, and they would go and they would split the difference, and then they would put your vehicle in the middle, and then they would stop and slow down. We had that incident happen, but we were able to get out of that, which was pretty cool because there were some people riding in that car that, for lack of a better term, they're kind of oblivious to any crime or anything that goes on negative. You know, they're taking photos of the mountains and buying souvenirs and stuff like that. So it really freaked them out when that happened. But unfortunately, when something like that happens, it's amazing how much money you get donated to your your business unit so you can expand those operations. So something always good comes out of something bad.
They become very appreciative.
Right. So
of their private
if y'all need
security
this,
features.
boom, you got it.
Get it,
So,
yeah. What were some, like, what's a country that you visited that like surprised your preconceived notions about it?
Probably Saudi Arabia. We went there, and we were 80 miles from Mecca. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but for a practicing Christian, you know, that's a big deal. And I remember there's a giant sign. It's in Arabic and English. All infidels cannot pass past this point. And they had this sign up there. But the country is really trying to modernize. It wants to be more like Dubai. You know, bringing in international people and having events. You know, they're doing soccer matches and concerts and stuff like that. They're really trying to change. But when I went, it was still that old country where you're kind of locked down after 6 o'clock.
Okay.
They didn't want you going out in town. They didn't want you going anywhere. When you go to the hotel, the guards there have AK-47s. You know, I'm not talking about pistols. I'm talking about the machine gun, you know, at a hotel. And they have metal detectors there. So it was just not what I was expecting. You know, just miles and miles of open desert. But you know, as being one of the richest nations in the world financially, the infrastructure was really kind of medieval. So it was just kind of a cultural shock for me. Yeah. I had a really good time. I loved it. You know, took a lot of photos and got to see a bunch of monkeys run around crazy and stuff like that, you know, but it was just... I
would have assumed there were monkeys in Saudi Arabia.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Do not. They're more like baboons.
Oh, okay.
They will come up, they tell you, don't roll your window down to it, but I mean, because they will jump on your car.
Oh my.
And try to open the door and pull the window down, trying to, trying to get your food and stuff like that. It's wild. It's crazy. But it just wasn't something that I had imagined. Yeah. So that one was I was really taken aback for that.
What are the biggest potential threats that you're prepared for whenever you're like when you're guarding like a CEO at that level? Is it like kidnapping?
Kidnapping's number one, yeah, because most people that kidnap CEOs know that there's an insurance clause. Yeah, and 9 times out of 10 they'll just pay it. Yeah, they'll just say, "Hey, give us our person back. We'll give you the money and stuff like that." So that's one thing we really had to be concerned of.
Yeah, that's tough because it sure is an incentive for them if they know that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like when they kidnapped Captain Phillips. They were looking to get a reward for giving the captain back. So. Yeah.
And were there attempts?
There were some intelligence reports, but nothing physical was ever made. Okay. On those ends like that. Yeah. So we had a real good intelligence community that we could reach out to them. We would give them our location where we're going. Hey, this, what are the threats here and stuff like that. So they helped us out a lot. And
are those private intelligence agencies or are you working with governments?
Government.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. And how long did you do
that? 10 years.
10 years. Mm-hmm. Nice. And then what? What'd you do next?
So after 10 years.
I bet you have a really cool passport.
It's I actually filled up one and had to start another one. I was
That's goals.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day. I said they were talking about waking up in a hotel room, and it's just kind of weird and different. I remember at one point I had to write myself a note and put it on the nightstand and tell myself where I was at because I was traveling so much. I actually didn't. When you wake up in the morning, you're okay. Where am I? In Japan? Am I in the Philippines?
What
Morocco?
I'm a traveler, so what a lovely problem to have.
Oh, I had a blast.
That's so cool.
I loved it. And that company, when we flew commercial, you didn't sit in the back and coach. You sit up front. So it was very, very nice.
How fun. What was your favorite country?
At the Split. So the most beautiful country I've ever been to was Romania. Oh. My favorite country is Singapore. Nice. I absolutely love that country. Cool. It's so green. It's so beautiful. The people are just really welcome. Hey, how you doing? You're from America.
In Singapore?
Stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Crazy.
Good. Now I have 2 more to put on my list.
You will not be disappointed.
Nice.
I smoked a $45 cigar when I was in Singapore. I was like, when am I ever going to be able to do this again?
Yeah.
It was just, just an absolute beautiful country.
Now, so you referenced your family earlier. That sounds like you were gone a whole lot.
I was.
You have kids?
I have a 2.5-year-old. Yeah. And I'm 57. So
Now you have a 2.5-year-old?
I do.
That's starting over.
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
So, yeah, wife and I, we tried for 8 years, and we were finally blessed to have a little boy. His name's Asher. He's the love of my life. But I'm really thankful that he wasn't here when I was working the road, because I would have missed out a lot on that.
Yeah.
So now I'm home more to spend with him. And so
Sitting at that dinner table.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Getting food thrown at me and everything.
Oh, gosh, 2.5 is a gem.
Yeah.
So what was behind your choice to get out of private security?
Not so much I had a choice. So I worked 10 years there, and they had 5 layoffs. So they were averaging one every other year. So that last year I was part of that reduction in force, or RIF, whatever you want to call it. So they laid off 300 and something people, and I was part of that. But I had a really good run. I loved it. And, I thought, okay, maybe it's time to move on and go do something else.
Cool. What'd you do next?
So I'd always wanted to own my own business. So I thought, well, I know law enforcement, I know training, I know security, I know executive protection. Why don't I just start my own company? So I thought, now's the best time. I talked to my wife. She's like, hey, if you're going to do this, now's the time to do it.
Here in Amarillo?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. So we pulled the plug and started the company last year.
And so what does that entail?
So the company's called Perceptual Vigilance. So we do executive protection, and that's worldwide. We don't just limit it here to Amarillo, but if anybody needs that protection here, we also do training on that. It actually started with, I saw a need for church security, because I noticed there was just a lot of attacks, not just here in the U.S., but just everywhere in the world. When you start looking at it, you don't always hear about them, but there are a lot that go on. And I thought, well, maybe I could help with this church security issue. And so that's really kind of was the catalyst to start it, the company. It's like, if we can help with church security, provide security or training, that's a big issue that I've noticed on some of the churches that I go and visit, is they have a team, but they're not really trained. They're like, well, I've got a security guy. I've checked that box. We have them. Well, are they trained? Are they medically trained? Do they know what to do with the principal that they're guarding? Do they know what to do with the congregation? How about the shooter and stuff like that? So I don't want to say that's my primary focus, but I'm saying that was where it started. And it kind of led into everything of teaching law enforcement. Then I have some military guys that we can teach military training. I still do the executive protection. I don't know if you know this, but every flight that lands into DCA, which is Reagan International, they have to have an air marshal.
Oh, every flight that lands
every
at Reagan.
Flight, private or public. So if you fly into Reagan, just know there's an air marshal on that plane. So I'm trained in that. I'm certified in that. So we do private flights that are up there, that people that need to fly into Reagan International Airport. So it's kind of a large spectrum of what we do and kind of where we're going. So I do a lot of private lessons for firearms, people that want their license to carry. Or I just did an all-female class last month, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, cool.
We cast a wide net.
Yeah. So how many do you have on staff?
So it's me, and then I have a pool of people that I contact depending on what their training is. So I'll just call them in.
You got a guy.
Yeah. I know a guy who knows a guy who I can call, you know, kind of thing. So
in Saudi, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
Right? Yeah.
What motivates you in that work? What is the benefit of this work?
I'm not driven by finance or recognition. I'd say I'm kind of an introvert. I don't need a lot of, hey man, yeah, you're doing great, your business. I don't need that. What I do like is that individual that comes up to me and says, you know what, I've never ever seen this aspect of training before, and I've learned something. That kind of gives me well, I'm doing the right thing, Or if I go do I do site surveys for churches, identify their gaps, their threats, their weaknesses. And when I have a pastor or a congregant come up to me and they say, you know what? I never knew that we had this area that we needed help in, and I really appreciate you pointing it out. It just makes me feel good. I feel like, well, I'm doing something right here.
Mm-hmm.
So
the world is like a big, scary place these days, it feels like. I was just having this conversation with my mom the other day. They announced this big relief concert down in Central Texas for the floods. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that came to my mind, and it made me so sad, was like, gosh, that's gonna be a lot of people in one place. And I just think that's so indicative of the world that we find ourselves in. As a person whose job it is to assess threat, kind of from a very practical standpoint, what is your take on that? What is your take on the threats that we perceive around us, perhaps?
Well, unfortunately, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have to worry about these things.
Yeah.
But where there's large gatherings, there are now targets of opportunity now. And that's sad that that's the society that we live in. Unfortunately, it is. But I tell people, as long as you're aware, that's the main thing. And if you have some kind of plan, that's all you need. If you go to the movie theater, you know where the exits are. Your family knows where those are. Mm-hmm. And if something happens, you tell them, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. You're good. You're good. It's when you go blindly into someplace, you don't know where to go, what to do. If you go into a grocery store or you go to a concert, mm-hmm. Where are the security? Where is the first aid station? Where are the exit doors? Where is there a safe place that I can go and hide behind if something happens? If you go in there and not have any idea, that's when you're vulnerable. Mm. But I tell people, if you have that in the back of your mind, before you go into someplace like that, your chances of survival have just escalated.
Mm-hmm. What is your opinion on open carry? Do you think everyone should be trained and walking around, or what do you think about that?
I'll take a pass on answering that, but I will tell you this: if you carry a firearm, you need to be trained on it.
Yeah.
You cannot have the keys to a car unless you've been through a driver safety course.
Yeah. Or
a license course. It's the same as it should be for a firearms course. Most firearm licenses are 6 to 8 hours. Carrying a weapon that could take someone else's life or protect your family, mm-hmm. or put you in harm's way, you need to be very, very proficient with that. And that's not just shooting, that's safety, that's reload, that's understanding how the mechanics of the weapon works. You need to have that whole arena of tools to use if something happens. So the key word, I think, is to be trained. Mm-hmm. If you're going to carry that, you're going to commit to doing that, you need to train with it.
Mm-hmm. So cumulative, how many years in law enforcement and security?
Over 30.
Over 30.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell 18-year-old graduating high school that wants to go help people in the form of law enforcement?
That's funny you mentioned that. I had a nephew that just went into law enforcement. I told him, I said, go in early. It's best if you go in single. And the reason I say that is because, especially on a newlywed couple, newlyweds want to spend time together and want to go vacation and watch movies and stuff like that. You're not going to have that time, mm-hmm. especially the first 4 or 5 years. You're going to be working nights, and you're going to be working when there's bad weather out. You're going to be working when everybody's gathered for Thanksgiving dinner. But if you're already married, I would definitely tell your spouse, it's what you need to get prepared for, because this is coming. Other than that, sign up, go to work, go out there and have a really good, fun time. Learn all you can. It's a very, very rewarding career. It's a tough career emotionally, but when it's all said and done and you're talking to your grandson, you're going to have a lot of good stories to tell.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This episode is sponsored by the Amarillo Art Institute at Arts in the Sunset. If you haven't been, this place is an amazing center for Amarillo's vibrant art scene. They have monthly events, including their First Friday Art Walk, which showcases the artists they have in residence, and they are some incredibly talented people with all sorts of wares and mediums. They also offer classes for children and adults in things like glass blowing, weaving, and pottery. It's all super cool. Check them out on Facebook. That's Arts in the Sunset. All right, we're back with Matt. Matt, this is the part of the show called 8 Straight.
Okay.
So we've got 8 questions for you, and you can answer however you want to.
Okay. I'll do my best.
Okie dokie. So when you think of Amarillo 10 years from now, what do you hope for?
I think Amarillo will be the aerospace capital of definitely Texas. I'd like to see it of the United States, but where we're located and all the aerospace companies coming in here, I really think it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that.
There
area.
is.
It's very interesting.
I think Bell had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
But Bell used to be here during the Vietnam War. They made all of the Bell Huey helicopters out at those old hangars out there at the old air base.
Yeah.
You can actually Google that, and you could see the old hangars where they made all 10,000 aircraft were made out there. I thought that was really cool.
That is very interesting because it's such an iconic helicopter for the Vietnam War. It's the Hueys. Huh. There you go. That's why we do this. Learn cool things.
Right.
Okay, other than wind, what does this area have too much of?
Coffee shops. Oh my gosh, there's one on every corner. And I'm not a coffee drinker.
I was going to ask. Yeah, we're recording in the morning, and I have my coffee, and he does not.
Which I get it. I love you guys. My wife's a coffee drinker. I'm not, but I mean, I could just close my eyes and point in any direction and hit a coffee shop in Amarillo, which is great. That's great for business there.
Yeah. Are you a tea drinker?
I am. Okay. I'm a teetotaler.
There you go.
Always have been.
Very good. What does this area not have enough of?
I'd like to see a little bbit more entertainment. They do well with trying to bring in concerts, the Tri-State Fair and stuff like that. I would just like to see a little bit more entertainment, maybe a little more adult entertainment where adults could do things on their own, not necessarily a concert or something, but just, when you said you were recently in San Antonio, there's just so much to do down there.
Yeah.
You can take your family or just you and your spouse could go somewhere or do something. So I just think it'd be nice if we had a little bit more here.
Yeah. When was the last time you went out to Paladuro Canyon?
It's been 25 years. That was a long time ago. And I really didn't do anything. I just went and drove around and didn't get out. My family goes down there on a regular basis. My extended family does.
Yeah.
So, and they're always inviting me, but I don't know. I guess because it's here, you're just like, I don't feel a urgency to go down there.
Sure.
It's kind of like, well, I have it here, but I won't miss it until it's gone.
Well, pretty soon you have to take that little boy out there.
Absolutely. He will go everywhere.
Rocks and lizards. We do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Tarantulas.
Take him to Lake Meredith and go swimming.
Yeah. Very good. What's your favorite local restaurant?
Braceros on 6th Street.
Nice. Solid.
Best Mexican food in town. Bar none. I love that place.
It's good. I like that one. How do you describe Amarillo to people outside the area?
The people. I tell them we have a lot of rangeland, a lot of cattle. I tell them the basic, check this box, check this box. Hey, we got this, we got that. But especially when I was traveling all over the world, I always loved coming back home because of the people here. Amarillo is just a friendly town, Everybody's neighborly, friendly. Ask how you're doing. Ask how your family's doing, I've lived in several areas of Texas, and I love Texas, but you don't always get that. The people are what makes Amarillo.
Yeah, absolutely agree. What is the most underrated aspect of living here?
I think the cost of living is very, very good here.
Amen.
It's not, of course, prices go up everywhere, but I just think that if you're here, whether you're single or raising a family, you're not going to struggle financially here to find a place to live. I think it's a remarkable community here.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite building in Amarillo?
The Amarillo building?
Yeah. 3rd
and Polk. I love that building.
Yeah.
I might be a little partial to it because that's where my office is at, but I love the pictures, all this old timey photos of Amarillo and streets and buildings and stuff like that. A lot of history there. I think
they just did some really cool renovations.
Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah, I like it as well. Okay, that concludes 8 Straight. Finally, I like to ask my guest to endorse something. So if there's, it could be a group or an organization, or just if there's a story, if there's something that listeners don't know about, you want them to know.
Well, I'll tell you a story. And I think it's more of a rumor than it is as a story, but I've heard this ever since I was a kid. My grandparents told me this, and my parents told me this.
Okay.
They said in the early 60s that Amarillo was approached by Disney to put a theme park here. And it was over off Ross and I-40. And the rumor is it was right in the middle of the country. And, between East Coast and West Coast, they had one in Florida, had one in California, and they wanted to put it here. The rumor was that they wanted some incentives, like donate the land, kind of thing like that. And, like I said, this is a rumor, but I heard that
I love a rumor.
the town fathers at that time just really didn't want to give up anything free to an outside business. And I heard that's why they left. But they talked about that for 10, 15 years when I was growing up. I don't know if it's true or not. I think it's a great rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes for a great story, but that would be amazing to think what Amarillo would be like now if there's a Disneyland here.
That's right. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know if I would like that. For us to be like, you
25 years ago would have been really cool, know.
You think about like Orlando, that's a whole, I guess it would be quite a different economy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Amarillo Disneyland that never was.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you. I had a really good time.
Very cool conversation. If you're starting or growing a small business and need some cash, let me tell you about Amarillo Venture Capital. They are a Hey Amarillo sponsor. They're locally owned, and what makes them different is they don't just invest in businesses. They invest in people. So whether you need $5,000 or $50,000, they offer flexible, asset-based loans, often with funding in a week or less. And it's not just the money. They can connect you with their local network of legal, accounting, and business resources to help you succeed. Check them out at amarilloventurecapital.com. And that concludes this episode. I will promise to look into the Disney rumor that Matt talked about and get back to you on our Facebook page. I think that'll be a fun little rabbit hole. Thanks to Matt for the interview. For more information about his company, Perceptual Vigilance, you can email info@perceptualvigilance.com. Thanks to the Amarillo Art Institute and Amarillo Venture Capital for supporting this podcast, and to Angelina Marie for editing every week. If your business is interested in supporting the podcast, visit heyamarillo.com. Thanks for listening. This has been episode 409 of Hey Amarillo. My name is Skylar Gallup, and we hope to see you next week.